Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We've just gone past 11 now, so good morning. We're just going to leave it another minute or so to let any latecomers, any stragglers arrive, get comfortable, get a drink, go to the toilet, whatever anyone needs. I suppose everyone's pretty used to these sorts of sessions now over the past sort of 10 months or so. So it's very important we're all comfortable and all engaged. Anyone who has joined, I hope you've got your thinking caps on and you're going to try and make this as an engaging a session as possible. There is a Q&A section, but I'll obviously come on to that in a minute. As I said, another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll get cracking. Brilliant. Well, I think now is as good a time as any. So once again, to anyone who's just joined, good morning, everyone, and it's great to have you with us today. My name's Oliver Gardner, and I'm the Microsoft Vendor Business Manager here at IntY. Some of you may know me for some previous roles I've held within Microsoft, where I was supporting unmanaged Microsoft partners with their digital transformation, and also within ScanSource's master agent model. However, now, in my new role as Vendor Business Manager here at IntY, I have to immerse myself back into the wonderful world of Microsoft. So to help me do that today, I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by both Ian Bourne and Wendy Clifford from Cloud 2020. So good morning to you both. So for any of you any of you guys who haven't previously engaged with Cloud 2020, they offer IntY partners the ability to sell Dynamics 365, which is fantastic. There is a Q&A box open which you can use throughout today's sessions, and I'll be posing those questions to both Ian and Wendy at the end. If there's anything that sort of jumps out automatically as they're going through something, put a question in and we can always interject if we feel it's relevant at the time. So, Ian and Wendy, one thing I keep hearing, both I suppose from partners, but also and from Microsoft themselves, is what a massive opportunity there is for partners at the moment around Dynamics 365 and how it can help with their digital transformation journey. Now, personally, I know a lot about M365 and Azure, but Dynamics, if I'm completely honest, isn't a strong point for me. So I know there's many flavors of Dynamics 365. So are you able to sort of talk me through them and help me upskill?
Absolutely, Oliver. Yeah, no, absolutely. And first of all, thank you very much, Steve. Thanks for the invite to speak today. Really delighted to be here and talking to your customers and the resellers out there. So yeah, the opportunity is huge. This is one of Microsoft's three big strands now. So you've got Microsoft 365, absolutely. You've got Azure, and then there's the whole business applications arena, which, as you say, is Dynamics 365 and also the Power Platform now. And those terms are merging into this sort of business apps type approach and what have you. So I think we've got some slides which Wendy will put up in a minute, but I'm going to talk through generally whilst that's happening. So what you have is now everything is sitting on Dataverse, which is today's version of Common Data Model or Dataflex or whatever it was called yesterday. Anyway, so we now have that data platform, right, which gives us all the security and what have you that we need to go around that, because it's sitting in Microsoft's data centers. So that's a great. In fact, what I'll do is actually, Wendy, if you can come to the next slide for us.
Sure.
There we go. So, and if I pull out all those bullets, I think what we're looking at here is, we often have the conversation with customers around why go with Dynamics and the Power Platform, and this is it really. I can't encapsulate this more accurately. So first of all, in fact, it sits on a single platform. So this is Microsoft. It sits on their backbone, and therefore connections with Exchange for data sharing and email sharing, what have you, and also SharePoint for secure document storage, and of course these days the all-important Teams. That just happens, okay, which no other platform really can offer that same sort of single thing, and therefore the compatibility that goes with that. And hopefully a bit later on you'll see some of that when we start looking at actually at the platform for real. When we talk about mobile, this is platform agnostic. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at this on a Mac, on a PC, on a tablet of any type, iPad, what have you, or any flavor of phone. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same experience. You're going to get the same functionality. It automatically renders to the right size to make it usable on that platform. The features and functions are just crazy. So we can argue this all day, but you're going to see shortly that the investment that's been put into this has created the features and functions like you would not believe. And just simple things like, spending $26.2 billion buying LinkedIn. You think, well, how does that impact? Well, because LinkedIn now is under the bonnet of Dynamics, which is really powerful. When we talk about metrics, this is out of the box. There's some great metrics, views, graphs, dashboards, and what have you that we can focus very specifically on the customer's needs. But then, of course, because it's sitting on Dataverse, we can then bring alongside that Power BI to give some really clever and very usable and consumable visualizations around the data, around your data, and also make sure that gets delivered to people at the right time as well, so they can make some really key business decisions. When we talk about data, what we mean here is the integrity and security of your data. Now, bear in mind, as Microsoft can state, it's your data. You decide what you want to do with it, and you decide who sees it. They just make sure that it's secure in the meantime. So if you go to microsoft.com/trust, you can read all about how your data is secured and made safe. I'll talk about development because I think that if you bear in mind Satya Nadella, when he came into a CEO of Microsoft, he came from the business applications area. He got this, and that is why there's been so much development in this platform and why it's come on so far. And then price. Yeah, it's not cheap, but you do get astonishing value for money, and that's something we can talk about. Okay, Wendy, perhaps you can look at the next slide for us, please. So let's look at the ecosystem. So we've got that dark ring there, the data. That's Dataverse. That's what it sits on. And what Microsoft offer us are these first-party applications that we can spin up very quickly. So at top of the clock, we've got marketing, brand spanking new bit of kit from Microsoft, built from the ground up, built in the era of key account management and GDPR. So helps you be very compliant around your marketing. And again, because of all the links into the Microsoft platform, then you get a lot of AI kicking off. Just give you an example of that. If you've got to send out an email in marketing and you want it to really hit the spot, then you'd enable the smart send approach, which you give it then perhaps a 48-hour period. It would look to see when you send a previous email to a client, when they tended to open it. So let's say they tend to open them at 11 o'clock in the morning over coffee, they're non-business critical emails. It would target that email to arrive at them at 11 o'clock in whatever time zone they're in. So some very clever stuff going on there in marketing, but also in marketing these days, we have event management as well out of the box. And of course, Teams is built into that to deliver online event management. Fabulous. Sales, this is the traditional CRM, as people used to talk about. You know, CRM doesn't get a mention here these days. This is about sales. This is key account management and that whole sales pipeline. And we're going to dip into that a bit later on. Retail, now retail is very clever. This is very much your EPOS, point of sale, automatic shelf stocking, all that kind of good stuff in the background, which links into the supply chain management. Service these days is three things. It's customer service, and that's multi-channel, so bots and emails and IM, what have you coming in. Customer service. It's also about project service, so managing projects. You may create a lead, convert to opportunity, make the sale, but then deliver it using project, something we do. And then the other big one is field service. This is managing engineers out about doing service and maintenance contracts and all that huge complex scheduling that goes alongside the inventory needed to deliver that service. And then we come around to finance and operations. So this is the money, sales ledger, purchase ledger, P&L, balance, VAT, bank reconciliation, all that kind of good stuff. And then backed up also potentially by operations. This is ERP in Microsoft speak. So this is about bill of material, manufacturing, transportation, warehousing, pick lists, shelf stocking, etc., etc. And then we've got the talent. So therefore, the people that power all this and managing them. But because it all sits on that data model, underlying that, we've got the Power Platform. So Power BI, which I already mentioned, Power Automate flows, and also Power Apps. And more and more, these are becoming important. So we use the Power Flow, for example, to get workflows operating across all these platforms, plus a load of others. So we can talk to third parties as well, third-party applications. Now, on top of those core apps in the middle there, we're now going to layer two other layers, AI and insights and mixed reality. So this is where it starts getting really rather exciting. And is this pertinent to all businesses? Well, in fact, yes. This day and age, these are not as expensive as they used to be. They're not as complex to set up, and they can have a real impact on businesses. So we've got the four insights: sales, market, customer, and customer service. Pretty well do what they do on the tin. So obviously customer service, understand what the main challenges are, what the main issues your customers are getting. Can you work around them to take those issues out? Who's the best agent to work on them? Who's the best agent to give training to the rest of the team, etc., etc. Sales, who's the best? How are your sales team doing? It'll actually even monitor the voice calls if you want it to, so we can understand what type of language people are using. Are they positive, negative? Are they listening? Are they speaking? And so on. So some incredible things with the sales, market, customer, and customer service insights. Then we've got virtual agents. Now, these used to be quite complex to set up. They're no longer complex to set up, and you can build the scenarios with them fairly straightforwardly. So this now we can drop into your websites, links in your email, footer, whatever. Virtual agents, really powerful things. If we come around to AI Builder, this is where we can do things like build an app for scanning documents or scanning stock levels, but also now a thing called RPA, so robotic process automation. This is kind of taken away from the need to look at connecting tools between different platforms, perhaps Dynamics and a legacy ordering system, because this can now replicate what a human would do, copying and pasting between different platforms, what have you. Very powerful stuff. Then we've got portals, so we can drive all this data through portals with all the security that goes around that as well. And then we've got virtual assist, project visualize, guides, and layouts. This is now using the mixed reality. So this is, and to give an example of one of these, the remote assist. This used to involve HoloLens. No longer. So that was the big headset and what have you. We now are delivering this on phones. So you can have a scenario where an engineer is on site, can't fix something, calls up a colleague who could be on another site or in the office, wherever. Can you help me with this? They can see everything that person on site can see through their phone, and they can annotate what they can see, and they can give pointers to items, say, check those two terminals out. That may be where your problem is, and what have you. So remote assist, really powerful stuff, and that's bringing mixed reality right into the heart of ERP in that environment. So that's kind of what all the toys in the toys box, and there's probably no conversation you have with your customer which wouldn't impact or touch one of those areas.
Well, it was quite an impressive toy box, isn't it, Ian? There's a lot in there.
Oh, it's massive. Yeah, and absolutely. And that's without us looking at Power Apps. So, for example, we had a customer that was really had a big need for asset management, compliancy, leases, warranties, goodness knows what. We built that as a Power App sitting on the same data. So that linked into any other platforms they had in Dynamics or Power Apps, but we built it for them specifically. We now sell that separately, and that sits right alongside this. That's a function specific requirement a customer had, which we rolled out on Power Apps. at different levels. So people on site could use it on their phone, scan a barcode, and report a fault with an asset or whatever. Yeah, it's a massive toy box.
So from a partner's perspective, then, in your experience, there's a lot of different flavors. There's a lot in that toy box. What do we think is probably the easy way in, or what's some of the great opportunity for partners to be able to identify quickly?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a really good question, actually, Ollie. Very good question. I think from our experience, particularly in the SMB market, the first place you can have some impact is on sales. Almost invariably, we get a customer that, as I think you've seen here, any kind of issue or challenge people have got, we've probably got an answer for it pretty well out of the box. There's a function there that will hit the mark. It will need some configuration and customization possibly, but we've got it. But almost invariably, we come back to sales, because if we can put we can drive some money onto the bottom line for a customer, they very quickly see some benefit from that. They see some return on investment. That gets them excited. Then you go, okay, now let's increase that. Let's put the marketing alongside that to increase your funnel. Okay, so you're doing that now. How can you better support your customers? Well, let's put customer service alongside that as well now. So now you're getting that whole 360-degree loop around your customer. But then how are we delivering that? Well, maybe we need to look at the project management. Maybe we need to look at field service. Oh, what about the numbers? Well, let's feed that now into finance. And so very quickly you can go around and tick all these boxes, but almost invariably it's down to money. It's down to sales, and that's where we find most of our initial points of contact with a customer. Unless somebody's got a very specific issue, like they need a customer service system, and that's what they come to us for. Okay, fine. Let's put that in, and then possibly we then move back up the supply chain or the value chain in that case. Yeah.
Okay. Are we able to see sales? Can we see a demo of it? See what it looks like?
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me share my screen. So what I'm going to do here, Ollie, is I'm going to. Okay, yeah, it tells me we want to do that. Let's do that, and let's bring my view over.
Bring things to life, isn't it?
There we go. There we are. So, Ollie, can you see that at all?
Not at the moment. Hopefully that will pop up in a second.
Okay. Ian, you're sharing the screen with yours and Ollie's faces on it at the moment.
Okay, let's. So we
should. Good morning, everybody. Apologies for the delay, King. Unfortunately, I was logged in twice, so I could hear you. I could hear a bit of a delay, and that meant I had to jump out and come back in again.
Right. Okay. Let's try that again.
Good morning.
How's that?
Here we go. I think this is about to jump in. There we go. Yeah. Fantastic.
Right, we're there. Jolly good. Okay, so this is what this is a demo, and we can spin these up for your clients to have a play with at any stage. But this is a demo environment of sales. So as you see here, we've got the sales hub. Now we can actually we can collapse down these menus to make them very targeted if you want to. So just show items that your team need to see, and you can have different views for different type of people. So sales managers, sales teams, what have you. I just get, we could spend hours looking at this. I want to just pick up some one or two key principles, if I may. So first of all, this is a dashboard, and again, we can build these dashboards, and you can have as many dashboards as you like. So if you look at this one, for example, this is now a sales dashboard, but you'll notice this is now looking at my activities, my open opportunities, my open leads. This is very much about me as an individual salesperson and what's happening for me. If we go back to the one we had just now, you'll see that this is an overview of, so all open leads, all opportunities, and what have you. These, all these views and graphs, they're interactive. So if I open up this pipeline, as we're looking at here, you can see that we have a pipeline phase. And over here, we've got actually the individual opportunities as they're presented at the moment. and different probabilities, what have you. We can obviously sort by that as well. So this is all sortable. But if you then say, right, well, it's getting towards the end of the month, what might close out? If you look at the bottom of the pipeline, that will down select over here to just those that are at the bottom of that pipeline. So all very interactive, and also we can actually look at different graphs here. So if I look at, say, let's say by status. Not to use those, not a good one. Hang on, let's have a look at that one. By pipeline phase. Then here we've got the different pipeline phases, and again we can drill into those and see them down selected over here. So those are dashboards. I talked about the connectivity with the rest of the Microsoft stack. Over on the right hand side here, now bear in mind this is a demo, so it's not particularly live data, but you notice here we've got some notifications. This is where Dynamics and Exchange talk to each other, and so it will look in there and it will see what's happening in your calendar. And you notice here there's a couple of reminders. One's about a phone call, and one's a task that's due today. So your tasks, emails, and appointments can synchronize with Dynamics. Not only that, though, if you create a task and you create it for somebody else, that will synchronize with their Outlook as well. So therefore you can create tasks for other people, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. But this assistant goes to the next level as well. So give you an example of that. Let's say I'm having a sales call with Ollie, and I decide at the end of it to send Ollie an email, and I might say, Ollie, great talking to you today. Let's have a call next week again to discuss how you might want to take this forward. This will read the context of that email and will come up and say, do you want to book an appointment with Ollie? So it's trying to help you make sure nothing slips through the cracks. I talked about activities. Then, as you see here, these are this is where you can monitor your activities, and also this is my activities, but we can actually look at also everyone's activities. So this is the whole of your team now, and let's look at just tasks, and let's have a look at the ones that are perhaps due or overdue. So it's going to down select to that now, and so here we've got some tasks. So Kelly Crouch should be following up with Brian, and that can have a start and end date and what have you. So you can also make sure that you can manage your team and make sure that they are keeping up to date with their tasks and activities. We can actually create these tasks and activities using Flow. So it might be, so give an example of that. Let's say an opportunity is closed. Then you may then want to create a task for the finance team to raise an invoice. So that can be done automatically on that trigger. So what we've got over here then, in terms of sales, well, we've got leads, opportunities, and then quotes, orders, invoices. So in the pipeline approach here, we've got some leads. So a lead is a fairly flat file. It's somebody who works for somebody, and it's something that you'd be working on. So let's have a look here. That's this one. Well, I've no idea what this one says, but in here we've got a lead. Now this timeline, this is where you would see there's not much going on in this one, but in here you can record your appointments, emails, phone calls, tasks, notes, etc. And you notice also here customer voice. So now you can actually put survey questions into here as well, and you can see when they were opened and when they were answered. So lots of good interaction going on here as well. If I create an appointment here to speak to this person, that will appear in my calendar as well. So you get the full timeline. The big advantage of that, of course, is that, you know, it's Monday morning, somebody's not got to work, so they had an accident over the weekend or whatever, and somebody phones up, you know everything about this interaction. So therefore, there is no, the customer is not let down at any stage. You notice across the top here as well, we've got a thing called a business process flow. So in here, we can customize these. You can have as many of these as you like within reason, and different phases. but this is about getting some conformity around how you manage a lead in this case. So here we can fill out these fields. When we get to the next stage, you'll see in a minute, then we can start to fill out the next level. So this is a lead. This is about a store is expanding. It's about a company called Worldwide Importers, and it's a person called Deborah Garcia. If I now click on qualify this, it'll do three things. It's going to create an opportunity. It's going to create a company called Worldwide Importers, and well, it would do, except for the fact it's found in this case a match. So therefore, there is already a company in there called Worldwide Importers. So that's data duplication, making sure I don't make mistakes. So leads can convert into opportunities, and the opportunities when you can start to add some more flavor to this. You can add more people to this, so you maybe want to know who the sales director is, who the marketing manager is, whatever. That could be done, and you can then push through these opportunities. With opportunities as well, you see you can create quotes, and a quote can then be sent out as a PDF to the customer. You can then convert the quote to an order, and then the order into an invoice. And you can, if you wish to, in Dynamics, fulfill the invoice as well. Now, that doesn't have to be the case. I'm sure your customers will have a finance platform. If not, there's always Business Central there in the Dynamics Dynamics stable. But at some stage, Dynamics now hands off to finance to do the bit around invoicing, bank reconciliation, debt chasing, and so on. So just in terms of sales, hopefully very quickly, I've shown you that you have the ability to start from a lead, convert a lead into an opportunity, prosecute an opportunity, close it, and then convert quotes into orders, into invoices, and have that whole process visible to individual staff members, but also as a team as well. Ollie, that was probably a very, very quick approach, but did that show you some of the potential around sales, Ollie?
Definitely, yeah, it's very insightful. It's always great to sort of see it come to life. And I suppose we've probably got partners on today listening, Ian, who are thinking, you know, we know that there's an opportunity around Dynamics. We don't do it at the moment, and we're not sure that potentially we have the skills in-house to be able to sell or deploy that, but they're aware within their customer opportunity base that there are opportunities sat there. So how do Cloud 2020 fit into this? How are they able to help and work with IntY partners then on these sales opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely, Ollie. A really valuable question. I think the first thing to say is don't leave the opportunity on the table, because, as we said, there's a huge opportunity here, and it normally starts with a particular challenge an organization's got, whether that's HR or sales or marketing or customer, it doesn't matter, whatever it is. And the other thing to bear in mind is we as a company only do Dynamics on the Power Platform. Okay, we do not do Microsoft 365. We do not do Azure, which is why we can work so closely with your other resellers here, Ollie, who do all that really good stuff. Okay, and we do that very deliberately, so that we're not seen to be a challenge or a threat to any of your resellers. So the thing is, we tend to be, Dynamics tends to be at the end of the digital transformation journey. Now, we've all seen customers recently go through some crazy and very fast transitions, digital transformations, right? COVID, that's just, you know, that's just happened. But what it means is that people have perhaps come to your reseller and said, right, I need to get everybody working from home, so therefore I need Microsoft 365, I need laptops, I need all my data, you know, I need my files in SharePoint, whatever. Yeah, fine, that's great. And then they're going, okay, well, let's go to the next stage then. Now we're doing that. Now let's bring the sales team onto this. Let's bring customer service team onto this. And that is where we can come alongside. So what we do is we're not a threat in that respect. What we ask you to do is talk to the customer about, well, what are the key challenges you've got? Brilliant. Can we have a call with our colleagues at Cloud 2020? Okay. What we need to do at that stage is really talk to the customer and go, well, look, okay, what's the value we can add to you, customer, by putting this in? Because they will, that client will have to put some effort in as well. They will need to work with us to understand their data, their business process flows, their use cases, where the challenges are, who their key accounts are, why they need to be managed in a particular way, what the business process flows are. They need to talk to us about what their needs are so that we can find the best way of implementing that for them and bringing some value to the table. Okay, we can then also do the online demonstrations and presentations. That's fine to bring them. This was just a very brief sales one, but we can go into any aspects they want online, and then it's about discussing with them about their timescales, their budget, and how we then bring this together. There will always be some element of requirement from the partner in this, your resellers, because they'll need extra licenses for 365, Microsoft 365 or whatever, or some support from SharePoint, or some Azure extra storage, or whatever it might be. So we need to work alongside those partners. We are always very happy when we're introduced to a client in that way to have the partner, have the reseller in the conversations, because those resellers then start to understand the sort of things we can do, and they can therefore it may help them spotting other opportunities elsewhere. So that's really, if your resellers just hear an opportunity or see a challenge a customer's having, because they're the trusted partner, they can have the conversation that says, well, can you spare half an hour? We'll get our colleagues on a call with you and just talk about this challenge you've got, and then they may have a way around helping you to get around that challenge in a very positive way. That's really what they need to do. Is just spot those opportunities and bring us alongside with that.
So this is a partner to partner play, is that correct? So as you rightly said, Ian, so Cloud 2020, you're not interested in looking at M365 licenses for existing partner still owns all of that. This is introducing the other element, the other cloud Power Platform, Dynamics 365 into their existing base, and you're there to empower them and provide the skill set to sell and deploy that opportunity. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. As you absolutely point out, the important thing is we intentionally do not do anything else. That is because that is what your partners are good at. That's what they do, not us. We have to work really hard to keep up to date. You've seen the breadth of what is available now. That is what we focus our time and attention on, to make sure we're up to date with the latest and greatest of Dynamics and the Power Platform, so we can deliver and we can bring that expertise to the table. So your partners don't need to worry about that. We'll do that bit. They just need to come in and bring the introduction in and be seen to bring us alongside them to make that happen. We work completely in tandem and in partnership, absolutely, with the resellers, and that that from our experience that works really works. So we're bringing the knowledge, we're bringing experience, we're bringing capability, and more importantly, we bring the ability to. There's various elements of sale in this. There's our services, for which there's a discussion around margin. There's our support, again, a discussion around margin, and we look at a share of the margin around licensing. So there's an awful lot of reasons to bring us into that discussion, and there's also a really good reason to against not bringing us into that discussion, because we know that an awful lot more of businesses now understand they need business applications. If we had this conversation 2 years ago, I'd be telling you that we have to look at demonstrating to customers, a return on investment numbers and all that kind of stuff. We don't have that conversation anymore. Customers know they need this stuff now, and it's part of their journey. It's part of their competitiveness against, in their market. They need this stuff. If they want to punch above their weight, they need the systems to back them up to do it. We can provide that for them. So if you're already in there selling Microsoft 365 and Azure and managed service platform, all that kind of good stuff, brilliant. You now have this availability as well to bring Dynamics and the Power Platform alongside that as well. Don't leave it on the table.
Fantastic, brilliant. Ian, we've had a couple of questions that have come out, which is great to see. So first question is, so how does pricing work? Do you quote my customer directly, or do you just give a price? I wouldn't know what I should be quoting, so I hope you tell me by my buy price, but offer me a suggested market guide price for my end user. So how, from in partner to partner, essentially, how does the pricing element of that work?
Yeah, sure. Through your good selves, Ollie, what we do is we would give you the buy price for your partner to then pass it on to their customer. So the customer relationship remains with fundamentally remains with your reseller customer. So they can mark up, and we can give advice on what we know the market will stand. What is a good rate on that? So we can give some advice on that. We obviously can't tell your partners what the answer is specifically, but yeah. So what we can do is we can work with that. Now, to do that, we need to understand what the customer wants. But when we've had a couple of calls with a customer, from our experience, we can get a really good handle on what they need. Therefore, we can understand what services would be required for us to go in and deliver this. Effectively, the consultancy services and the work from the technical teams to build out these platforms. Just on the build bit, by the way, we talk about the 3 C's. So that's configure, customize, and code. These days, we rarely, if at all, need to code, okay, which is great, because that takes away a lot of the massive support issues and updates and what have you. But everything will need to be configured, and often there'll be some customization to meet a very specific requirement for a customer, and that is what the service element is. So we deploy the platform, we do some discovery work with the customer to make sure we really understand their issues and their pain points, and then we customize and configure that platform, and then we deliver the training to alongside that. We do some user acceptance testing, and then we hand over as much technology we can to the customer so that they can maintain the core elements of it themselves. So that's all services, and there's some elements in there for your customers, your resellers, to make some markup on that. We offer support either ad hoc or on a contract basis. Again, we offer the ability to take a margin on that. So that's how it works. We will advise your partners what that price is, which they can then pass on to their customer. We'll give them that advice, so that and we can also advise around the support requirements of post deployment as well, so that we would never put your partners in a position where they're just making having to quote without that knowledge of what they should be quoting.
Okay, that's good. And for those, I suppose, who aren't familiar with partner to partner, so you don't go in there and pretend to be the partner, do you? You go in there as Cloud 2020, as the partner is introducing the expert in Dynamics.
Yeah, we do. We don't white label, and there's various reasons for that, Ollie. One is I'm the world's worst liar, so I can never remember who I'm supposed to be pretending to be that morning. It just doesn't work, okay? But if you think about, last year, or was it year before last now, I had an extension put on my house, okay? And there's a team that were responsible for that, but they subcontracted the plumber and the electrician and the roofer, okay? And really, that is a very similar model in that your partners, that they're in there as the trusted partner, and what they do is they're bringing in us to do the Dynamics bit, and we don't find that a problem at all. Customers understand that we're brought in to work alongside. As long as there's never ever a black hole for support to drop down or anything like that, then it works. So we make sure that the customer always knows who we are, who the point of contact is in the partner, and how any communications will be managed. And as long as that's all clear and on the table, it works really, really well.
Fantastic. A couple more questions then. We've got first of all, says, what about migrating existing customers using older versions of on-prem Dynamics to Dynamics 365? Yep.
Excellent. Right. First of all, depending on how far back it is, it depends how much of a pain it is. What we tend to find is that because with the on-prem, people don't habitually move them forward in terms of versions as frequently as they would do. Obviously, if it's SaaS, there's 2 major updates a year. They've just announced today what's going to come out in the spring wave, which is in April, and I'm really excited to go and have a look at that. But it happens. The updates happen. Okay, but on-prem, people tend to stick with a version for a while. What we have found from experience is when we're going to have a look at on-prem version, it is actually better for us to start with a fresh version. So we go, right, okay, that's what you do. Now, don't spend money with us replicating that exactly, because in actual fact, the whole thing's moved forward now, and 9 out of these 20 workflows you've got are now out of the box. So we're not going to need to replicate them now. This is the new version of what this will do. So let's go back to what your requirement is. So in the meantime, your on-prem is still running and you're operational, business as usual. Great. Let's take a fresh look at what is it you're trying to achieve, because the chances are we can do a lot faster and a lot quicker and a lot better using the new version of Dynamics. And then the big issue then is data and the cutover. So this is around getting the buy-in from the users to the new platform, bringing the data across. So when we do testing, they see data that's relevant to them. But that also means we've tested, we can bring the data in, and then agreeing what that cutover point is and going, right, there's the data, we've brought that into the new platform now, you've all had the training, away you go, and a fresh start. That tends to be the preferred way of doing it, actually, Ollie. Okay.
And then we've got a couple of questions sort of around cost and consultancy costs. So one of the questions is, at what point do you engage with my customer? So when do costs start applying? Is there a charge for an initial conversation, for example? And someone else has put, what about consultancy costs per day? So from a costing perspective, how does that sort of work in?
Yeah. Okay. So the first point is try and bring us in as low as you can. Okay. The reason is because it is it's a very broad subject these days, Dynamics and Power Apps, and the customer, once you start engaging with the customer, they'll go, oh yeah, and by the way, and does it connect with Sage Line 50? And what happens if I want to use Constant Contact for marketing? And you'll get snared into those questions, which we've probably heard 100 times, you probably haven't. So we can answer those questions. So get us on a call. Now, there's no charge at this stage. We want to identify where there's a real need, okay, and whether we can bring value. If we can't, we'll be very clear about it and go, well, look, maybe at the moment you haven't got enough needs, so therefore there's other ways of doing this, or whatever, or what you're asking for, it's going to be quite a challenge, it's going to cost a fair amount of money, you may want to go and think about that type of conversation. Okay, and we may have 1, 2, maybe even 3 of those conversations with a customer. There comes a point though we go, right, okay, let's come back to the original reason you came to us, and let's say it was sales productivity. Okay, let's look at sales productivity. To do that, we would then do a paid discovery, normally, which may be a couple of days of consultancy plus some write-up and then presentation, which says we think to implement sales we need to do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to cost you this. Okay, so that is the point when consultancy starts to kick in. So that paid consultancy around the discovery really captures then exactly, we go to the next level of detail, lift all the stones, find out what we need to connect to, look at all the data boundaries, inbound and outbound, to make sure that we can deliver that. And then but then we'll give the customer through the partner an indication of what that cost is going to be, so that there are no shocks, no surprises. They know what they're heading into at that stage. So that's how we do it, really.
So that's good. So they don't need to worry about if they have, again, if a partner hasn't engaged with partner play before, but to have an initial conversation, there's not going to be, I'm not going to be charged per minute for this or something like that. No. We've got another one that links in quite well to this, Ian, as well. Do you have a minimum size of customer that you deal with in terms of seats or licenses then?
Yeah, no, good question. There's how can I put this? There's a practical lower limit, but having said that, it's more about the complexity of the requirement than the number of people. Okay, so we have had a fairly small company based in central London that had a very complex requirement there was only about 15 of them, I think, but their requirement was very specific, and they also had the budget to spend because they wanted the security, they wanted the functionality, and they wanted to punch above the weight. And for those 3 reasons, they were prepared to spend the money. Now, that was slightly unusual. Normally, slightly larger would meet, would make it viable for a customer to come to us. Having said that, we're about to launch next week our Springboard, which I know all you guys are getting involved with, which is our fixed price deployment around sales productivity. So, I'm sure after next week we'll be able to announce that through you guys. So that is designed for the perhaps a smaller customer that just wants sales productivity, and then once they have that with very much a fixed outcome and a fixed price, we can then layer into that things like marketing and HR and what have you to meet their requirements. But that's aimed around getting the smaller customer on the system. Yeah. I have to say that one of the questions we get asked is, isn't this an enterprise level product? Why are you trying to sell it into SMB? Well, the thing is, yes, it started out as an enterprise level product, but we have experience putting it into SMBs, and we have real experience of making SMBs massively successful because they have these fantastic tools that the big guys have. So, it is valid. It is valid. It's more about complexity, and it's about commitment and cost and where people see themselves going.
So I suppose from a partner's perspective, hearing this, it's don't be put off. Contact your IntY account manager, engage with Cloud 2020, and have the conversation about what does the potential opportunity look like. I suppose with any sales opportunity, it can scale and grow and feed from that point. And then from a sales perspective, it's a great question here as well, is saying, I'm interested to hear your pitch to my customer. So can I sit in on calls? Not that I don't trust you, they hasten to add, but think it might help me when I talk to other customers.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I touched on this earlier. We are very much so. Now, we have some partners they just drop us an email and go, speak to Joe on this address, this phone number. I think you want something, right? Fine, whatever. But we really encourage the resellers to be in on the call, because there will be, we will need to, if they are the managed service provider, for example, and they are the trusted partner, then we can actually ask them questions like, are they on 2FA or whatever the question might be. We can actually ask them during that conversation. So that's part of having them there is beneficial. But also, the more time they spend on calls with us, the more they will understand all the potential they have of working with us. So that's really cool. I think the other thing is that as this partner to partner thing, it's a two-way street as well. So one of the almost invariably any delay to a project is down to the customer. Now that's understandable. Very often people are bringing us in because they're very busy people, and they can't grow any faster unless they bring in the systems behind it to make that happen, and that's where we come in. So they're busy people, but it's like, oh, we haven't been able to do the testing because we've been too busy, or we haven't been able to do the training because so and so was away on a sales trip, and okay. That's where we can work with a partner as well to say that, come on, can you go and have a word as well and help us through this bit? Because if we lose the momentum in the project, it's going to slow down, and then they're going to drop out of our scheduling, and that type of thing. So the partner to partner thing really is a two-way street, but the benefit is the partners then learn more about what we do, get more confidence in what we can do, and therefore can go out and find more sales, which benefits both of us, all of us, you as well. Yeah.
That's great, and I suppose to allay any fears, and it links into another question we've just had, is that you got Cloud 2020 do this every day of the week. You a partner to partner play, you do all the time, so you're already engaging with IntY partners around these opportunities, aren't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So your sales team were very good, actually. Your account managers are very good because they've already got an understanding of what we can do. but also they've spotted in discussion with your resellers the opportunities. And hang on a minute, let's give these guys a call. I think they can help you here. So yeah, pick the phone up to your account manager and have a chat with them. They will often go, yeah, no, I think that's great, and they'll know which of us to talk to as well. That much got a particular specialism in one area, and that type of thing. But yeah, talk to your account manager. We've been doing this for a while now. You guys understand what we do. You understand how we do it. We wouldn't be having this call if you didn't think we could do it, I'm sure. So, just pick the phone up, have a conversation. Once you get your first project under your belt, hopefully you'll see that you can have the confidence in us delivering and the benefits in it for you and your customers.
So that's a call to action then. Everyone on this call today, engage with your IntY account manager, set up that initial call with Cloud 2020. Look at your base, look at your customers. Who could benefit from having this enterprise grade product in an SMC environment? Fantastic. Final question then, it's just come in here, which is quite a good one. And I've heard this as well. So we have a question here from Tom said, I've heard that Business Central was the answer for the SMC channel.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that, Ian?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So the history of Business Central was that it was a company called Navision that Microsoft bought, and then became Microsoft Nav. And then when it moved to a software as a service platform, it became Business Central. Now, Microsoft have in the past, in fairly recent past, broadcast it as the answer to SMB. Okay, and it's fundamentally it's a finance platform. So it's like Sage, it's like Xero, it's like QuickBooks type thing. So it does sales ledger, purchase ledger, general ledger, bank reconciliation, VAT, P&L balance. It does that kind of stuff, the finance bit. The basic license also allows you to do some fundamental stock management as well. So in other words, you've got 1,000 items on the shelf. When it gets down to 800, automatically create a purchase order for 400 and so on, or what have you. So it'll do that. If you go to the top level license, you can do the whole of the ERP piece. So that's warehouse management, building materials, and so on. Okay. Now, alongside that, it will do some opportunities management, okay, but it is not fundamentally sales like I've shown you.
Yeah.
It does that alongside finance. Now, the finance bit as well, if I'm honest, you do need to have people in your business that understand finance, understand ledgers. It's not quite in the same way as someone like Xero, which is a little bit more, business owner doing their own accounts with an accountant in the background. You do need to have an accounts finance team in the business to do Business Central. And we sell Business Central, don't get me wrong. We sell Business Central. We sell it to people who want a finance package. We sell it to people who want to manage stock and so on. But I would suggest it does that really well. It will do some opportunities. But if you really want to take sales to its nth degree, we would recommend you put sales in, because you get all that insight stuff going on and the relationship assistant kicking off and all that AI stuff happening, what have you, because that's what sales does. Okay, so we would advise where we think Business Central is useful, appropriate, and going to add value, but it doesn't do everything.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head. During the past few months of COVID and people working from home, it's the insights, it's the business intelligence that people need to garner, interpret about their business, and that's where sales can really help, isn't it? And I think that's key to most conversations then that partners will be having with their sales opportunities at the moment, is looking at the whole Microsoft stack. Is what can we do to help you streamline your business and maximize the data that you hold within your business. So, Ian, Wendy, thank you very, very much. That's been really, really insightful. I've definitely learned a lot, and I feel that I would be able to identify now what a good opportunity for you would look like. What's the process? Well, as I touched on earlier, to anyone on the call today, the process is engage with your IntY account manager, who will set up the conversation with Cloud 2020. You'll be able to engage with Wendy and Ian and the rest of the team there. And if you're on the call today and you're not already an IntY partner, well, where have you been? Get in touch with IntY, IntY.com, and we will be able to have a talk to you about becoming an indirect CSP partner through IntY. So once again, Ian, Wendy, thank you very much for coming along today. And you guys can see their contact details on screen, and also to start the conversation, engage with your IntY account manager to set up that initial call. That's brilliant. Thanks very much. Looking forward to the next instalment of our series.
Thanks, Ollie.
Thanks, Dolly. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.